Welcome back to the Pioneer Sideline, episode 142 coming at you. I'm your host, Aaron Cooney, and as I promised before that break, we're going to talk a little baseball here. Chris Hoffman is in the house of fire, to talk to us about some baseball. And the Pioneers getting back on the winning track here. They had a little bit of a hitch in the road there after they dropped 3 of 4 to the Malone Pioneers with a home and home there. But they get back on track here, on schedule for the Pioneers. A couple victories are. They would take on Clarion actually last Tuesday. Take the first game 8-5. Pioneers, you see, Tass is 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. Pioneers back on the winning track. But the second, this is a Clarion team 7-22. Game 2, Pioneers cannot pull out the victory. They'd end up dropping that one by the score of 10-5. Leyva 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. We're going to jump back in here with Chris Hoffman. But Chris, I mean, we talked about this before we did our softball broadcast. But when you have a Pioneers team, you're going up against a 7-22 team in Clarion. Those are 2 wins, and we talked about it last week on Pioneers Side. Those should be 2 wins right there. What happened in that game?
Yeah, the Pioneers just didn't get done on the field. Last week I said they should have won both those games. The pitching didn't get done. When you give up 10 runs to a team that only has 7 wins on the season, when you're the number 10 team in the NAI national poll, obviously your pitching staff didn't get done. Especially if this team, the Pioneers, have an ERA that is sub 2.5. That is not what they should be doing. And the bats didn't get done either, only 5 runs. Sometimes the pitching isn't there, so the bats didn't come alive when they needed to. And that's been a problem for the Pioneers recently. We saw with Malone, they lost 3 out of 4, so right now somebody's put out that house of fire named the Pioneer Bats.
And so they would look to get back on track. They would have 4 games taken on the Walsh Cavaliers, a home-and-home set with the AMC rival. And back on track they are, sweeping the Walsh Cavaliers. They had a win, this is on Friday, they win 3-1. And 11-6 at Walsh. And then Saturday's games were postponed. They played them Sunday afternoon. Got 2 wins there again, 5-4 and a 6-2 win for the Pioneers. And Chris, to get back on track like that, I mean, Walsh is no scrub. In the AMC for the final year here, they won't go into playoffs, but Point Park to get 4 wins, I should say, against Walsh, pretty big to get back on track here.
Yeah, it's a very big win there, Aaron. Especially the last time they had really good competition in Malone. They lost 3 of the 4 games. This was a good test for the Point Park Pioneers because as they move on to the unaffiliated tournament and possibly the national tournament, they're definitely going to need to step up their game, and they did that against Walsh, taking all 4 games. They won some blowout games and close games, both very good experience for this Pioneers team. The pitching got done, the bats got done, the fielding got done. They played a complete game, and that's what the Pioneers have needed this season. When they play complete games, they're able to come away with victories.
Does the inconsistency bother you between the pitching and the batting, whichever shows up for each game? Does that bother you going down the stretch here?
You're right, Aaron. That is a bit of a problem, and it does bother me at times. When you don't have the bats, sometimes the pitching doesn't show up either. It's been inconsistent. We saw with Malone. The bats were not there for the first 3 games, and then they did come alive. The pitching has been hit or miss at times, too. I mean, for the most part, the pitching has been there because they're number 8 in the country for pitching, but there has been times with pitching, as we saw against Clarion. They even up 10 runs to a team that they should basically shut out, and that is a problem the Pioneers are going to need to address. Lauren Torres has been trying to address that this season, but the Pioneers, as they move on to these tournaments, are definitely going to need to address those problems if they want to make a run at the national tournament.
And we will have to see those couple games there. And there's also some big news coming from the Pioneers on the injury side as well. We're going to talk about that in the next block here. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about injury news for baseball and softball between the Pioneers and how that's going to affect them going down the road. Stick around on the Pioneer Sideline.